Hey y'all, it's Davonne. We at Ground 3 Radio and we rocking with Mike on the mic.
Yo, what it do, family? It's your favorite host, Mike on the mic from the Vibe Perspective Podcast. Tapped on my guys at Ground 3 Radio, DJ OK. Man, we're back at it again for another Vibe Style Wednesday, another series of interviews. Shout out to each and every one of my listeners. And make sure you take the time to like, comment, and subscribe. And share this video, man. We work hard on these videos. We try to get them out weekly. I was just talking to her about it. We try to get it out weekly if we can't. And, we working double time on the weekends. And I'm not trying to be working this weekend because something really crazy is happening this weekend. So I'm trying to make sure I get all this content out for y'all. Make sure that y'all, get everything y'all need for the week because I hear y'all. I hear y'all listen to these podcasts while you at work. I hear you listen to these podcasts while you driving somewhere, while you got the kids. And so I just want to make sure I get this content out for y'all so that y'all can have that good moment to relax and listen to some great stories and some great content. So I'm going to get that out for y'all. Make sure you call in at 443-377-1872. Again, that number is 443-377-1872. Without further ado, man, we got to get right into this because we got a super, super dope guest in the building, man. An absolute vocal beast, man. An incredible performer, man. Incredible artist that has traveled all over, man, to spread her musical gifts. A Jill of all trades, you know what I'm saying? Because her sound, her talent, man, cannot be matched, cannot be boxed in. And I will tell you, we sitting here with the one and only Davonne is in the building. What's up, sis?
Yes. What's going on?
Nothing much. Glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited. I haven't sat down and talked for a while, so I'm excited.
No, for sure. I'm excited too. I'm finally glad to get you here. And to my listeners who want to listen more, learn more about some of the stuff she got going on, make sure you go over to at Davonne on IG. That is at DAVONNE DNEIL on IG as we go through the interview so you can match the work to the woman herself. And, we finally made this happen.
Yeah.
We finally made this happen.
Finally.
It's been a time. It's been some time, you know what I mean? But I want to start from the beginning. Like everybody I respect, like everybody that I know is very talented and I sit across from this table, I always want to start from the beginning because that's how it made you into the person that you are today. Mm-hmm. Originally from Annapolis, Maryland. Mm-hmm. It's funny because we actually met in Annapolis for the first time at the Kunta Kinte 34th Annual Festival. Shout to Kevin Smith and David Stansbury. It's so funny because now when I do research on you, it made me think of the live performance you did with them too. Mm-hmm. I think it was Therapy.
Yes.
And shout out to New Unity too. Great performance. And I think for anybody who is probably looking at it above my head right now in post, they'll know that it's a great performance and, you're not to be played with on that stage. I just want to say off the top. But from Annapolis, Maryland.
Yeah.
You grew up, I think you had a twin brother too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Got a twin brother. Grew up in church.
Yep.
Kind of like, I feel like this is like the R&B singer.
Pipeline.
Yeah, like you got to go to church.
Yep.
You got to just get thrown up there.
Figure
it out. Mess up. Get encouraged on your way. It's okay. Take your time.
Take your time.
Take your time. So, grew up in church. Really, my brother was like the singer.
Yeah, he was the outgoing one,
He was the outgoing one. I was like super shy. I feel like I still kind of am.
Sure.
Like kind of shy, kind of in the shadows of him all growing up. Of course, we had a little gospel group. We sang on the choir. I played piano at church, but I still was like in the background.
Yeah.
Like,
part of the ensemble.
I wasn't into, like, I didn't need to be up front. I didn't need to lead a song. I didn't need to do none of that. And then like all through high school, college, I was in like the classical groups, jazz ensemble.
We'll get there.
Just always in a group, a part of a whole, right?
For sure.
And then I started like just breaking out of my shell for real, like doing hosting like talent shows, variety shows and everything in college.
We'll get there for sure.
Then
we're here, right?
Here we go.
And it was all she wrote, right? And I love, I love hearing your story and sort of doing that research to know your story because I think it does really show like how much like the work ethic it takes to get from that place to being just in the background. It's like putting yourself, like throwing yourself in the front now,
For
like
sure.
being completely sort of vulnerable to a large audience and then bearing it all in front of them.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the things that people see a lot. People see people perform on stage. People see singers going crazy, but like we don't never appreciate like the work that it took to get them from behind the curtain to there.
For sure.
And every step was a work, that was something to work for, right? And I want to, you touched on a couple things that I do want to talk about. Like you said, you started playing piano. I think it was at 12, right?
Something like
that. Yeah. And growing up in church, and being the one in the background while your brother is sort of the outgoing in the front, going crazy singing. You know what I'm saying? I think you went to Mills Parole Elementary.
One thing about you, you research. I appreciate your journalism skills. I just gotta pause the show real quick just to give Mike his flowers, because I cannot tell you how many interviews I do where it's just like the cookie cutter. So how did you get started? So your music is on Apple Music, iTunes. Okay, you use Instagram. And it's like, but no, you get down to that Googler.
Googler. I'm stealing that.
You get down to that Googler and you get to typing and researching. So yes, I went to Mills Parole Elementary School. That is correct.
Shout out Mills Parole, man.
Shout out Mills Parole.
If we got any of our listeners that's from Mills Parole, stand up, tap me, man.
Yeah, P-roll.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And I think that matters too. Like every step of the journey is important. So that I think people listen to your music all the time. People listen to your music in the shower, in the car, like as you perform it, like they recommend your music to other people. I think it's important to know like the person behind the song, because sure, people can be incredible. Like you can do the best run I've ever heard. Like you can have the craziest stacked melodies I've ever heard. But like, why did you want to be that person that does that? Why did that inspire you to become such a great vocalist, right? And so these individual steps matter. That's So I want to talk about going to high school now, because we talked about sort of elementary school and early beginnings. I think high school was an important moment in your life, or important era, I should say, Annapolis High School. You know what I'm saying? I want to talk about a couple things you did. Like you said, you did like ensembles in high school. I think you were in all county. What? You can stop me. Go ahead and stop me. You can stop me. All county choir. Shout out to all county choir.
Journalism people.
It takes a lot to get there. Like you can't just be a regular. Everybody in high school think they can sing. Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? But it takes a real like the studying you have to do, the work ethic. I'm gonna keep coming to this phrase work ethic, because that shows up a lot in your journey. Like it takes a lot to get to All-State. It takes a lot to get to All County. It takes a lot to get like to adjudications and have a good score. You know what I'm saying?
It wasn't a game.
Yeah.
Like my high school chorus teacher, she did not play. She did not play. We friends on Facebook. Shout out to Miss Cranen.
Big shout out, man.
She did not play.
Yeah.
And so a couple of my friends, they make fun of me even now, because like how I enunciate my words.
Oh yeah.
Even when I'm singing, like I hit my T's, like she wasn't playing, but them T's.
That's a gem.
Just how to like you shape your mouth on your vowels and everything. I still pull from that stuff today, and it really makes a difference.
It does.
It truly makes a difference in the performance of the song, and not even just like live performance. Like that's one thing people, I don't think, realize. Like when you're in the studio, that's a performance.
Yeah,
like, you
exactly.
still have to perform the song so it can resonate when the people tap into it.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So yeah, shout out to Miss Cranen.
Man, big shout out to her. No, that's such a gem too. I think we're going to uncover a lot of gems tonight. But that's a big important thing. Like as a vocalist, and I always like to do this, like stop and analyze something, because we got like 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds listen to the show, and I remember me being. As shameless plug, I also was in All-State, All County choir when I was in the high school.
You sing?
I used to. I'm not even going to do that. No. I can hear people screaming at the television now, saying, "Yes, you do," and you haven't sang in a while, but you still sing.
Okay, now I got to get down to the Googler.
Yeah,
okay. Noted.
I ain't.
Noted.
All right, enough about me. But I know what it takes to get there, and like that's a very important gem of like vocal structure, vowel structure. Like these things are something we don't think about when we hear the best vocalist we've ever heard. Like you hear a Beyonce record, it's like you don't even. A lot of people just think she just get in there and start singing. No, like she makes it sound easy because how prepared she is.
Yes.
And I think that's a skill in and of itself of knowing these individual details of singing that allows you to be a great singer. So I think that's a gem. If you're 11 and 12 and you want to be a vocalist. that vowel structure is important. That the way you shape your O's is
absolutely
is so important. It's so important. It's gonna matter. So I want to keep going. Like in high school, you also play basketball too, right? Like,
I did.
You know,
I know. I was watching the game. I was catching up on the WNBA finals.
Yeah.
On my way in here, Minnesota just took the L. I'm mad about it.
No.
But, I just do not want to see New York win. I'm a Las Vegas Aces fan.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I just do not want to see New York succeed in life. Even though I'm wearing a New York hat.
Right. That's different. You know, we
just for the fashion.
Right. I know for sure.
But yes, I played basketball all through my whole life outside of college. I stopped. That's why I always regretted not participating in like the musicals and everything but it always overlapped with the basketball season, so I never got to participate in like the plays and the musicals and stuff. But basketball was a big part of what I did all through middle school, all year round. I think I burnt myself out too early because I kind of regret not playing in college. But I also really enjoyed my college experience. So it's like, I don't know. It was a toss-up. You were either an athlete or you were a student.
Exactly. In
my eyes, at least.
No, 100%. I can 100% vouch for that because that's exactly how it is. When I went, that was exactly how it was. And it is funny, though, because, you know, I always think about the connections that, you know, early life moments have, like, in your journey. Like, being on the basketball team allows you to be a part of this large team, right? Like, it allows you to play your role in a way. And it understands where strengths and weaknesses are between individual members. That can easily be transferred over to having a band. You know, that can easily be transferred over to singing in an ensemble, you know, etc. And I think that is I think it's just so funny how, you know, it's just ironic how often things align in life, specifically, you know, as a young adult coming up, those things follow you.
Sure. I always attribute, even in like my 9 to 5. I'm like, being a part of a team,
priceless.
Like, that's training that no conference, no webinar, no
Zoom call,
no Zoom can train you to be a part of a team.
That's right.
Like, to understand each person plays a role.
Each
person is needed where they are. And so I always attribute like my professional development to being a part of a team for so long, and so many different teams, and understanding personalities and personnel and who works well where.
That's right 100%. Being an artist at your level, I'm sure you've had a bunch of experiences knowing where people don't fit and where they do, and fixing that immediately.
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you know, and you spoke about college a bit. You went to Wesley College. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Dover, Delaware. Man, I think actually they were acquired by Del State, right?
Sore topic, yes.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
it really only hurts this time of year, like homecoming season.
Because
it's like, so where do I do it?
Yeah.
I mean, most people that went to Wesley who still want to participate, who still participate, they go to Del State. I mean, it's still lit, but it's still like to be on your campus.
Oh, it's not the same. I feel bad. But I mean, you know, people that went there still exist. Right. So wherever you guys go, you take the university with you.
Right.
So I don't think it's, you know, it's lost at all. I think it lives on with y'all. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Del State too. I mean, no disrespect to y'all. Right. You know what I mean? But, you know, I'm just saying, man. But, you know, when you were at Wesley, you know, like you said, you were part of talent shows, variety shows, you know, even hosting them, you know, and you started to come into your own. I think I recall a quote that you always used to sort of recite from the football coach who would say, you know, always find a way to win, you know.
Find a way to win.
And I think that is such a gift to have as a college student. Like, find a way to win. Like, there's so many things in that statement, you know, and I think that also connects to your journey just throughout. Like, you know, finding a way to get better at your craft, finding a way to, you know, really dominate the stage when you're on, you know. everything I've seen your journey come up to has been like a constant step of wins, a constant, stepping stone process of getting better and polishing your craft and getting to that next level and getting to the next stage, and I think, man, I wish I would have had a line like that when I was in college, man, because I was struggling.
Yes.
But find a way to win is like,
it's just so easy to apply to everything.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And it's like you fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
You find a way.
Yeah. Right.
A way. So however you go about it, whatever journey you take, find a way to do it. So 100%. Losing is not an option. You just got to find a way.
Yeah, definitely losing is never an option. That's another gem, by the way. If anybody's listening, you heard it first. You know what I'm saying? And I do want to talk about a bit because, like having a band at these early ages, that is, that's something we've seen up until today, right? That's something that you've kept with you in your ensemble up till today. Keys, drums, you know what I'm saying? A saxophone here or there, you know what I mean? And I know you've always appreciated the instrumentation and having, sort of an ensemble of sound behind you. Tell me where, if it isn't church, because I feel like it is, but if it isn't church, give me some insight on like why you value that ensemble behind you as much as you do, and moving forward, how does that evolve in your mind of like making it better or like improving on it?
So, of course, church is the foundation, because that's your first. That's the first time you're really exposed to live music. On a weekly basis. Woo. On a weekly basis, you get live music, right? So it's like I want to take what I do and do that, but in my way. Yeah. And the reason I hold such value in the band and the live instrumentation is so much freedom. It's so much freedom. Like if you of course we have technology now where you can program your tracks and have a pedal and just jump around where you want to go in the song. But the freedom of having a live band behind you, especially great musicians that. All of my musicians are church musicians, so they're used to the lady just jumping up in the back of the church and just start singing. Right? They gotta fall in.
They gotta go.
So, E flat. Right, right. Just they catch a key, and go for it. So it's like I love the freedom of just not knowing. One time, Erykah Badu said, "Recording is perfecting." And I'm paraphrasing.
Sure.
Recording, when you're in the studio, you're perfecting something more long term.
Sure.
But like when you perform live, it is like perfecting the moment. Whatever happens in that moment.
That's a bar.
And so like, I gotta find that exact quote because that hit. But yeah, it's just like so much freedom. You're not confined to the 3 minutes and 27 seconds of the track how you did it in the studio. And then it's some songs that I do live that are completely different from how I recorded it.
Oh, I've seen
so
it.
It's like when people see me live, they're like, I like this flip. Oh, that was hard. I like that. How you come up with that? And so I love just like on the fly, the type of how I want to get better. I really do want to get better at rehearsal. I don't like rehearsing. I don't like rehearsing long. I'll say that. I like to figure out how we coming in. The drummer knows, I'm rhythmically challenged sometimes, so I need you to make it known that this is where I start. This is where I start. Because I get I don't know, I zone out. I don't know where we at. And then another thing, I talk my little stuff in the beginning of songs. I never know what exactly I'm gonna say. I do hit one line every show, make some noise for good music. So that's the only thing I know for sure that I'll likely say during the show. But I want to get better because some shows, you watch bands and award shows, they don't have but 45 seconds sometimes. But true. The band is tight. They doing lines, hits. everything, and the artist just is, they do their thing, 1, 2, and they gone.
Yeah.
And so I want to get better with connecting with my audiences in a more condensed version. Like if I have an hour set, or we can stretch it out. I can tell you the story.
Right,
We can build it one at a time. The musicians can come in one at a time. If I want just the drums to come in while I'm talking, and then, the sax play over that, and then here come the bass and the keys. Like, if I have a long time, like, I felt like, for a long time, I felt like that was the only way I could perform. Like, I need at least 30 minutes. I need at least 30 minutes. That way I can really get off everything I want to get off.
Right.
But as time went on, I wanted to get more comfortable with tracks. Because, like, somebody called me, and they in New York, and the bag is not long enough for me plus everybody else.
Yeah.
By the way, like, I've taken a lot of L's making sure everybody else was taken care of. And I'm like, but this don't make sense long term.
Yeah,
I can't do this long term. Like, I can't keep going in the hole.
Yeah.
Just because I'm spoiled. So I took, like, the last few years, probably 24?
24, yeah.
So 2023, 2022, 23, 24, I would take more gigs using just tracks. Like, I'm not bringing no musicians.
Yeah.
So this way, I have to learn how to connect.
Like,
I have to be able to put myself in this little bit of space.
Yeah.
I have to fill up this space as big as I can.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've really been practicing and trying to perfect lately.
Okay.
Now, did that answer your question?
Yes, that 100% answered my question. I mean, and I think I'm going to try to uncover as many gems as I possibly can, but that's even, that's great to hear. I always talk to the young kid, the 11, 12-years, like, you've been performing for literal years. Like, you're great at what you do.
Thank
and
you.
To know that, you're always learning, right? There are also things that you're working on that, that can inspire somebody to say, like, oh, well, maybe I'm really great at tracks, but I'm not great at live performing. It's never too late to keep learning those lessons.
Absolutely.
And so I love hearing that, flowers to you.
Thank you.
And just to keep going, I mean, we talked about talent shows, we talked about Wesley, and I think correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a specific talent show, I want to say your sophomore year, where, like, you fell in love with being on stage, and, like, the audience response was, like, that was one of the most validating moments for you. It made you really fully come out of your shell and, like, jump full force into your artistry. I think that was, like, sort of the defining moment that, like, gave the world Davonne Danielle. Can you talk about that night? Because I know you remember it.
I do. I'm just trying to figure out how you know. Yep, I remember it was a Haiti benefit talent show. And I sang A Song for You by Donny Hathaway.
Incredible.
I was so very nervous. So nervous. And, like, now I don't really get nervous. It's like a different type of nerves. It's like I want everything to go right. Like, I'm more so worried about, like, is everything going to be technically sound? Like, are the mics going to work? Can the people hear me? Can I hear myself in the monitor? Can the singers hear? Do the band remember how we coming in? So, like, those are the types of things I more am anxious about than performing.
Yeah.
But at the Haiti show, I was just so nervous. My homie, actually, his name is Wesley. He played keys for me.
Yeah.
And people were, like, crying, and it was like so quiet. And it's like, when you're already nervous and if you're new to being on stage, it's like you don't know what that means. It took me a while to figure out what that meant.
Yeah.
Like, nobody is saying anything. Like,
yeah, 100%.
I'll be recording this thing on.
No, for sure.
It's like, but then, like, once I got to the last little riff of the song, everyone was like,
yeah,
going crazy, standing up.
Oh, man,
and then people was
incredible.
like, oh my God, I was crying.
Oh, that's incredible.
You made me cry. And I'm like, oh, so this is like not a fluke.
Yeah.
Like,
I
can do this. And so from then I'm like, okay, well now I'm a little bit more comfortable. One thing I did learn that I don't need to perform in heels because any nerves that intensifies it. Intensifies it.
Yep.
My legs were like.
Yeah, like you're walking
I
on
was
stilts.
really shaking in my boots. So I'm like, okay, so I won't do that again.
Yeah, learn a lesson.
Yeah, I mean, we learn something new every day. So
Right.
That's what I learned from that performance, that I wanted to keep doing this. I love this feeling. And next time, wear some shoes that are a little bit closer to the ground.
That's man. That's gems, man. I'm telling you, we're gonna uncover something. But no, I think that's so dope. Like that was, I think we talk about pivotal moments on this show a lot. Of like, if this one moment didn't happen, would we have you as the creative that you are? Like, had we not had that show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had, say, you caught a cold or something, or say, like, I don't know, something happened where you just weren't there that day. Mm-hmm. Like, you were coming tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Who knows? I'd love to believe that you'd still be in this seat and you would have accomplished everything you've accomplished, but who knows whether or not you would have come up the same way if that one moment didn't change how you viewed yourself in this space. Mm-hmm. And man, incredible day, incredible moment, incredible journey for sure. Mm-hmm. But I do want to keep going because I want to talk about your first song. Mm-hmm. Your first song was made in a dorm room.
Yes.
So tell us as the audience, them, the audience, about your first record, because that was around that same sort of era of you coming into your own. So give us some insight on that.
So the first song was actually a feature. Shout out to Aaron. He's been
I have bad service.
He's been through a journey musically. He was doing hip hop, then he gave his life to Christ, started doing hip hop, Christian hip hop music. Yeah. What was this song called?
I have bad service. It's going slow.
But that was before I started writing. So he had everything. He had everything ready, and I came. I remember it was like 7 a.m. He hit me like, "Yo, Davonne, I got this hook. Come sing it for me real quick." Mind you, his roommate was in the bed asleep, knocked out, and we're like,
college life, man.
Right? Like we are in such close quarters. I'm like.
He got an exam.
He was like, no, he alright, he cool, he alright. I'm like, oh my God.
He probably was not alright.
Right. Like, you are not okay with somebody in here beating and banging and screaming and singing.
Not at 7 a.m.
While you are asleep. But,
I got an exam tomorrow.
And I'm like, oh, so this how it go. Like in the industry, like people get up early and they, knock it out. And so that was it. I cannot remember because I think we sang it, we performed it.
It'll come to you.
It will.
I'll jog your memory about some other things that are happening around this time. Maybe that'll help you.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna find it. If I get my Wi-Fi back on track, I got you. But
let me see if somebody remember.
It's interesting though because you mentioned that a lot of some of the things you were working on at that time you didn't actually write. Right. It was because you were a part of like these vibe sessions and these writing sessions where like you'd perform what was created in those sessions, right? And I think that's interesting too because coming up early, we struggle to find ourselves in the space. Like we struggle to find our voice, and no pun intended. I mean, you know, but I know, in your journey, you eventually moved away from having the sessions where people would write for you, and you started writing for yourself little by little, because like the words that were being generated like in those writing sessions didn't quite feel like what you would want to express in the way you would want to express them. And sort of that I want to say that micro frustration was like, I'm just going to start writing myself. I'm going to take this into my own hands and start really creating the things that I hear, that I feel, and giving that to my audience. Tell us about that transition of, starting little by little to start writing your own things. And was it difficult early? And, just give us some insight on that.
Sure. So, like in the beginning, like after I sang the Donny Hathaway song, and I'm like, okay, cool. Then, of course, there's always like makeshift producers and people all around campus. And so there was this guy who made beats, and I would go in his room, me and one of my homegirls who was writing for me. Shout out Crystal Camille and Tiara.
Big shout out.
So we would go. I would take one of them with me.
Yeah.
And we just listen through and be like, ooh, I like this one.
Yeah.
I like this one. Oh, I like this one. Ooh,
Yeah.
I like this one. Granted, listening back now, I'm like, ugh, cringe. But
we've come a long way.
a mighty long way, Lord. But so I would be like, so I want to sing a song. I want to make a song that is like kind of like, I like him, but I don't know. He like me, but he don't know. But then we get together later.
Yeah,
something like that.
Oh man.
And then they would just write.
Yeah.
And then present this story with, you know, generally what I said.
Yeah.
But I'm like, now how am I get these words to this beat, but make it sound like me?
Yeah.
And it would just like the studio sessions would just be so long because it's like I'm trying to marry myself to these words and then say it the way I would like to say it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the way I approach songwriting is I like to be a little bit witty, a little bit catchy.
Yeah.
Use some nuances and innuendo, so it's like more. Sometimes flat in your face, but sometimes you got to be like, oh, I wonder what she meant by that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I wouldn't say this. And so after so many times getting in the studio trying to read these words and then scratch this out right over this,
right.
I'm like, I would say this instead. I would say that instead. And then after, I'm writing a song.
I'm literally writing a song, right?
Like like by the time I rewrite everything, I've written a whole song.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
That's when I was like, okay, this is dumb. So I'm going to just start writing. I might as well just write my own stuff. And so excuse me, the first song that I wrote was it was a remake of Marsha Ambrosius' Far Away. And so
great record.
Yes, I loved her. Like, people knew in college, if you get in my car, we're not listening to nothing else. Like, this is a R&B lounge on wheels.
Oh, for sure.
Don't get in here requesting nothing rowdy. We are listening to soul music.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I ran that late night, early morning album out. Ooh.
Classic.
So that was the first song that I wrote. And when I went to record it, the dude that was recording me at the time, he was like, who wrote this? And I was like, me. He was like, I can tell. All right, let's do it again. And I'm like, yeah, because it's like, it just felt different. The performance of it.
Yeah,
it wasn't like, it's one thing if you're reading off words off your phone that you wrote.
Sure.
Like, you knew what you meant when you typed this down.
Yeah, right.
But when I'm sitting there with like words from somebody else, it's like I'm literally like trying to cold read something.
You gotta like interpret the meaning and then use your own voice to articulate. That's weird.
To create the feeling. It just was like such a long process. And I do understand like songwriters and people do that.
Sure.
But
big up to them.
As for me in my house, I like to do it.
Me in my house.
I like to do it. Especially if the person writing is like a singer and they can like present to me, I heard it like this. Yeah. Then that's a different story. But if you just giving me words, then that's difficult for me.
Yeah,
at
like
this time.
if you're just like a story writer, and then it's a little bit more difficult to interpret. Not completely understand it. I mean, in that moment, in those moments where you started to write, you started to pull from your experiences and pull from your influences. Mm-hmm. Like you mentioned, you had an R&B lounge on wheels. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I know you're influenced by like Joe Scott, D'Angelo, Bilal. Shout out to Bilal, by the way, one of my favorite soul artists of all time. Brandy, of course, with your incredible stack vocals, Jasmine Sullivan, and you mentioned Erykah Badu. It's interesting because for Erykah Badu, I'm pretty sure you drove to Philly to see her show, DC show as well, and you would take notes, like of how she interacts with her band, and But using those notes to see, like, all right, at this huge stage, at this level, how does this interaction happen? And then how can I make it my own? Mm-hmm. And that directly feeds back into the conversation we just had about, having an ensemble, having this band, and being comfortable in this space. And I just love merging those two worlds of, like, that's really how you know you're a real artist and that you started out serious in your craft. Because you really did the research to get you there. And talk to me about, like, the things you saw at the Erykah Badu show. I mean, of course, talk to me about your influences as well. Mm-hmm. But, like, seeing those things at the Erykah Badu show and then implementing them into what you do in your craft. Tell us about that experience, that process.
So, I get in these, like, super, like, focused modes where, like, I'll pick an artist and I look at every video YouTube has to offer.
Yeah.
And, I've gone through, down rabbit holes of so many artists. Yeah. But I like to look at different, even now when I go to shows, I like to see, like, how do they do it?
Yeah.
Right? How are they connecting? How do they command the stage? And some people, like some of my friends, they're like, you always look so comfortable. You always look so comfortable. And I'm like, well, my whole thing is, like, once you up there, you can't, like, just melt into yourself.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Once you up there, you got to do it. It's showtime.
Yeah.
Like, nerves are fine, like, whatever. But once you up there, you can't, like, be like, no, that people can see you at this point.
You are in the center.
You are up
of
there.
The stage.
So that's one major takeaway. Mm-hmm. Like, and of course, these are, like, professional artists, celebrities, been in the business for years and years and years. But it's like, but why can't I apply that? Like, on any stage I go to, like, I'm gonna get up there like I've been up there. I'm gonna get up there like y'all know me. I'm gonna sing my songs like y'all know them.
Like y'all got them downloaded in your phone.
Yep.
Right now.
And so that's just like that is the kind of takeaway that I take from different shows that I go to, seeing how locked in the band is, like, and realizing that their bands aren't doing too much. There are a lot of musicians who just want to show off their musicianship. Yeah. And that is great.
I know where you're going with this.
That is great for you.
That is wonderful for you.
And you and your Instagram content. But as for me in my house, I like a pocket.
As for me in my house. Everybody had to title that.
I just like a smooth pocket.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even too keen on tracks. Mm-hmm. I like all the way live. Because when that track get off and then you got to stop and push buttons on your laptop.
No.
We don't have time for that. All I need is a pocket. And I understand the benefit of all the razzle dazzle of it all. But
100%.
As for me in my house, I like a nice strong pocket.
A pocket.
Keep me right there. Because I don't know what I'm about to say.
Right.
Once I hit my verse and hook, I might start singing something else.
It's whatever I feel.
Follow me.
Let's go.
And that's why I like all of my musicians. They've been with me for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Erykah, my drummer, she follows me so well. And it's them drummers that really want to show their musicianship.
Ooh, Lord, chop
I don't
head,
need all of those. I don't need the feel. I don't need the fills. I don't need the halftime.
You see them holding a double bass pedal. I'm like, whoa, what you doing with that?
Yeah, where are you going?
Put that back in your car.
But she follows me so well. She knows my body language. She knows when I want to break. I don't have to do too much. It's just like, a quick little. And some people don't even notice. Like, sometimes I just turn around and turn back around. They don't know. They just thought I did a little spin.
That's a signal. You gotta pay attention.
And she just knows. And I'm super flexible too. Like, if y'all feel something, a break or whatever, a line, all right, now we vibing off this.
Yeah.
It's just the feel, however it goes.
That's fire.
So that's my major takeaway. Even when I go to concerts and stuff, it's really for research purposes. It's for research purposes.
For real.
When I see, like, even seasoned bands, like go-go bands. I love go-go bands and watching them. And I think that's what, I don't know, I was a little bit kind of misinformed by watching so many go-go bands.
Yeah.
Because people flock to when the songs start, they are locked in.
Locked in.
The whole crowd
Yeah.
locked in.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm like, and I feel like that's the feel I'm always chasing after. And so that's kind of why I structure my sets the way I do. Most times I'm like, let me start with something that the people might know.
Yeah.
And that they're going to rock with. That way they're already up here by the time I hit
engaged
brunch.
to me now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but what I've come to realize, people don't. Me, if I'm at an R&B show, I'm in the front.
Same.
I'm feeling it. I'm grooving with
it.
everybody. Like I'm feeling every instrument. I'm listening to everything. I'm feeling everything. A lot of times when people go to R&B shows, and I have to accept this as an R&B soul artist, like they are gonna want to have a seat.
Yeah.
They're gonna want to like be relaxed while they enjoy the music.
Yeah.
And so I had to keep like unlearning and relearning, like just because they're sitting down, that doesn't mean they're not enjoying it.
Yeah.
Even like at the festival where we met,
man,
they were very much a seated crowd.
Oh, 100%.
But
Grandma was in that.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody from the front to back had their seat.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It was hot. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was. God.
But I'm like, I can't not perform
Exactly.
like they aren't right here in front of me. So it's like I have to kind of psych myself out to like I'm gonna perform like y'all know the words.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to. Otherwise people are like, they didn't know what they was doing.
Right, yeah.
They was unsure, or didn't know, like she looked nervous. It's like, no, I'm gonna sing my song like y'all singing it. I'm gonna give y'all part and act like y'all sing it real loud.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You ain't even see me. I was backstage. I'm like, man, I gotta find my way to the front of the stage, but I only had space and shade back here. So if I leave, then it's like,
right,
all right, But I enjoyed it absolutely. That performance is incredible. I told you on the day of, but again, gotta give you flowers. Incredible. I didn't even mention Amy Winehouse is also like a influence for you as well. Like,
yes,
she like classified herself as a jazz artist when nobody was doing that at the time.
Nobody.
And it was this idea of like staying true to yourself no matter what the general norm is.
Right.
And I find that so much in what you do too. Like I said, like your creativity can't be boxed in. You don't conform your style and your sound to whatever is the most popular. It kind of sounds cliche, but I think when they hear your music, they know what I'm saying when I say that. Of like, you really don't try to pigeonhole yourself into like a certain thing. You kind of let your creativity speak for itself, and that's another flower moment. Gotta give you flowers, of course.
Thank you.
It's funny, we haven't even really gotten beyond like 2008 yet in the conversation, because I want to talk about 2008, 2009ish. I think the Davonne first project comes out, right? And man, what a transition from being in the background to not wanting to be seen, all the way and taking all these steps in your journey to getting to finally release a project and having your name on it. What did it take to produce that thing? Because I know I talk about work ethic, but I know it took some work to make that happen.
No, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. This was before like all the streaming platforms were like so easily accessible.
Yeah.
So of course everything was recorded between a dorm room, and we had like a communications department that had a radio station kind of set up. Yeah. So we would like early Saturday mornings go up there. Like I knew somebody who was a communications major. They had the access to the room. Like, can we get up there? I need
to get in there, man. Help me out.
So got up there, recorded everything. Had it mixed to the best of what we could do at that time.
Whatever was our capability at that time. I get it.
The best we could do. And then it was we bought CDs. We bought blank CDs. We was burning them.
Yeah, these kids nowadays will never know what that feels like.
They will never understand. They will never understand. They will never understand burning a CD, thinking you did it right,
Oof.
thinking there was no malfunction,
Oof.
and get to the car.
Oh man!
And that junk just spin.
It's just spinning.
No, what it say? No, it'll say like
no read or something like that.
Something. And I'm like,
man.
yo, if all of these are like this.
Oh God, my heart would sink, man. My heart would sink.
You selling a CD to somebody, they're like, yo, Davonne, my CD ain't work.
Oh no. How many CDs don't work?
Like, if all of them are like this,
oh no,
this is out of control. Luckily, it was only like a couple malfunctions, but
great, perfect.
I don't remember. It had to be Marvin who printed out like the cover art.
Yeah.
And we like stuffing them, like burning them.
Got a whole production like line.
Yeah, like a whole assembly line.
Yeah.
So that was like the work.
Yeah.
The work, getting that out. Passing them out, selling them, whatever, just making sure people had it. Making sure people could listen to it.
Yeah.
And then, I was stuffing CDs for up until a couple years ago. People still like to buy them sometimes. Yeah. People still like to buy them.
That work ethic, man. You gotta give the people what they want.
I still have so many CDs, but it's like, they don't go as fast as they used to.
Sure.
But it was one point in time, I was just talking to one of my homies the other night, Black Assets. Shout out to her.
Black Assets.
We were talking about like how much we used to come up off CD sales.
Yeah.
Like how much we used to come up, like a hard copy CD versus what we see on DistroKid or United Masters or whatever. It's like
night and day.
Whew. Good thing we got other skills.
Yeah, for sure. No cap. Oh man.
So yeah, like that was crazy.
Yeah.
And so did that project, and I think like 6 months later, I was like bit by the bug. Then I'm like, I gotta put out another one. And I'm writing at this point, so I'm like, I gotta do another one.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Now I gotta do another one, and it was just like the learning process of learning how to work in the studio.
Sure,
like it's different. Yeah. Like if you like getting up and singing a song, is different than recording it, because it's like, okay, what we hear on the radio is not one straight through track. Like people go back, they dub stuff. It's harmonies. Ooh, my favorite. I love doing harmonies in the studio. That is my favorite thing.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, Brandy is one of your influences, so that should tell you.
So perfect. She does it so perfectly.
So incredible.
Faith Evans.
Man.
And then I like Tweet, because she doesn't even like. Brandy and Faith are like machines.
Yeah.
How Tweet does it, it's like Tweet, D'Angelo. How they do it is like off but on.
Yeah.
And it's not like so perfect and polished.
Yeah.
So it's like I like
that
to try to do
a
like
different. That. It makes it better in a way. Like,
it feels, because it feels live.
Yeah. 100%.
It feels live. But it's like you can just get it over and over again.
Yeah.
So like just learning like the art of recording music.
Yeah.
Like being prepared.
Yeah, exactly.
Knowing what it feels like to be like, dang, I ain't really practiced this. I ain't like knowing, like, especially like if it's people in the studio. Me, I'm in between. Like sometimes I like to just be in there by myself, me, the engineer. And we just working. Other times I like a little company just to bounce the energy. Like if I'm writing on the spot, like some sessions are set up just to write on the spot and see what we come up with. I'm coming through, got some beats, whatever we can listen through and see what we come up with. So sometimes I like the energy of other people in the room.
Yeah.
But most times I like to just knock it out.
Yeah.
Have my little,
get to work.
Have my little cocktail. And get to work.
Get these records done. But yeah, I think that's so funny, because you know, you said you got bit by the bug, and it's very evident that your production level kept going up after that release. You know, and CDs don't stop there. I mean, I want to talk about sort of, because we were still in 2008, 2009. Like, you kind of technically started as like a full-fledged artist in like 2010-ish. You know, like where you were consistently performing at places, lounges, performance halls, clubs, you name it. Like shows, you name it. You were there destroying stages, you know, and that didn't stop just in like 2010, 2011, like yesterday type time, you know what I'm saying? Like you continued to perform, you continued to polish your skills, you know, and become an incredible performer at this stage. I think you're even, I thought you was crazy when I did research on you in 2010. Man, leaps and bounds, and I can't even see how you can get better. But shout out to you, because you are getting better every day. And I want to talk about sort of that process of getting better led you to another project around midnight, 2014, which songs you wrote all around that hour, right? And like, I do have a question. Are people still trying to figure out who Charlie is?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody was like, probably every female that follows me on social media, they was like, oh my God, I love Charlie. Like, I listen to that every day. Like,
it's
oh
incredible.
My goodness, I got a Charlie too. Oh my God, tell me why I was messing with this dude and his name was Charlie. Tell me why. They still want to know who Charlie is.
Yeah. I think that was like one of your most personal songs, right? At that moment. Like, you know, if I'm not wrong, it took you like 3 months to write that song.
A long time.
You know.
How does your Google work? I want to know what you type in. Where do you be at? On YouTube?
I have a proprietary method that I can't really disclose. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to lie to you.
But yeah, that song took me a while.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because the production of it is kind of simple.
Sure.
It's kind of simple, but if you listen closely, there are slight changes in it. And so I took every kind of segment where it changes ever so slightly, and I would change like the theme of that song, of that verse, the theme of the story. Yeah. So it took me a minute, and I'm glad that it was so well received, because they say like if you cry writing something, like, you know it's gonna hit. Yeah. So like that first part, oh my goodness, I cried so much. It was so much tears, so much sadness. But most of my songs, like the great ones, the ones that really hit, I mean, it just tugs on the emotion, and that's what I really appreciate about music, is that. Shout out to Miss Cranen. When we used to sing in different languages, she would say, but music is the universal language, so it's gonna hit no matter what you're saying. You're gonna feel it no matter what you're saying. And so I'm like, if I'm crying, I know I'm not the only person that been through nothing like this, who ever experienced like these type of feelings, this kind of process. So most of my songs come from like that deep. One of my other friends, Whiskey Girl, she was like, your music just hit you in your woman. And I'm like,
that's deep.
I'm like, yeah,
that's deep.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Bar. She smoked that.
And then one time Black was in the studio with me, and she was like, we was listening back to, I think I was wrapping up a project, and I was letting her hear some of the songs, and she was like, yo, your music sound like a girl in real life. And I'm like,
that's great feedback.
I know, ain't it? I was like,
it's great
I've never thought of like I've never thought to put all these words together that y'all just told me. Like on separate occasions. Yeah, right. Like separate like bodies of work y'all were referring to. Yeah. But it's like, well, that's great. That's great. Because I want anybody, but any woman, any girl, to be able to relate. Like I love when they say like, oh my God, you told my life. Yeah. You told my life. And it's like, we all out here really just living the same life.
Yeah.
Just living the same life.
Same life.
Different locations.
Right.
Different characters.
Exactly.
Just living the same life.
No, 100%. And yeah, no, that Charlie record is, that is a moment. I will tell you. I mean, the entire project is really a moment. Mm-hmm. But I think that being one of your most personal songs, like, you know, it's starting off sort of this Romeo and Juliet sort of stanza, and then it goes like the beat switch, which I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, like the beat switch kind of sort of it resonates with the like sort of how a relationship changes over time, like where it starts to be like, well, he's not kind of in this as much as you are now, and you start to feel that. And that's like very, you know, it's like I don't know how to explain it, but it's a feeling you just know you have, you know. And I thought that was genius. I thought that was a very high level, like musical IQ way to articulate that message, because I think a lot of people just tell you, a lot of people just, you know, say the words, or, you know, it's explicitly said. But I think you doing this sort of handheld motion with like the music and your lyrics to give that feeling to the audience, and I caught that automatic. I caught that right away. Another flower to you. I just might as well bring the bouquet downstairs. Yeah, big shout out to that project. Incredible. Definitely going to tap into that.
Yes, that's when I knew that's when I knew what I was doing. I felt like I knew, as far as that body of work was concerned, like I was like, all right, I got it.
Yeah.
Like I know how I want to approach songs. I know how I want my writing style to be. I know what I'm doing. Like that was the first time like I felt confident in like there's no questions.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think there was I remember a video I saw. This was random, but I ended up seeing a video of a good friend of mine from Baltimore who actually works at 92Q, and two good friends of mine, AJ Showtime and Lil Black. Yeah. Who if I'm remembering this correctly, you got on AJ because you was like, you didn't even listen to the project, did you? And he was like, all right. ends up listening to the project and was like, I think track 2 was his favorite. And I think Lil Black gave you flowers too. Funny, Lil Black sat in that seat also. AJ got to sit in that seat too.
Shout out to AJ.
He knows I'm gonna get on his ass, but you know, shout out to AJ Showtime, shout out to 92Q. But that's the thing, it's like great music is gonna travel no matter where you are. Like if it's in the DMV, we're gonna hear it. Like if it's good, we're gonna hear it. You know, and I'm so glad that you were able to get that validation, and not only that you know your fans and your audience that was tapping into that music gave you that feedback, gave you that like, bro, this hit me somewhere that no other music really reached, and now you're able to access that. And I'm so glad that I found your music. But in speaking of great music, I mean, you didn't stop there, right? Like I think 2017 is the Versus project, October 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And it's funny because like you had writer's block going into that project, right? And so you decided to like grab all of the verses that you've done leading up to it, and then, you know, all around America, by the way, like all around, like this ain't just like Annapolis artists. Like these are like artists that, you know, you've really traveled and met and, you know, got with and really got into the bag of making your own verse, you know, and, you know, you started to make new records by doing those verses, which was a very unintuitive process, right? Like you would think that like you going over your old work would just reinforce what you already did, but you were able to find this creative spark of like, no, I can actually make completely new records using these, you know, this influence that I've given myself. Yeah. It's like a time capsule.
Yeah, I thought I had writer's block. But it's like, I'm like, well, why do I keep writing new stuff? Because I remember when I first came home from college, I worked with probably every artist, mainly rappers in the Annapolis area. Because it's like, they knew me from just... Annapolis is not that big, so it's like if you do anything extracurricular, you're kind of known. Yeah. So they're like, oh, Davonne that played basketball, or the one that did whatever. And so when I came back home and they saw that I was doing music more like seriously, of course everybody was reaching out, and so I'm trying to get my reps up. I want to see how different people work, because everybody does it differently. I wanted to see different approaches to the studio, different approaches to different records and songs, and how they went about it. So I'm like, I worked with everybody who asked me. And so I'm not don't get any ideas, America. I'm not like that anymore. I'm a little bit more selective now.
Yeah, for sure.
A little more selective now, just because I want to make sure I'm doing meaningful things.
Yeah.
But when I was getting my reps up, I'm like, a lot of these songs didn't make it out y'all driveway. A lot of these songs didn't make it past your homeboy. So these verses that I did, I don't want them to fall on deaf ears.
100%.
So I'm like, what I will do, since it's been a while, after around midnight, I performed so much. I performed all night long in every spot, up and down U Street, up and down H Street. I performed downtown, everywhere anybody would listen. So I'm like, it's been a while since I put out new music, because I was just live so much. People could find me anywhere. A couple times a week. Baltimore, D.C., Annapolis, D.C., Baltimore. You know, it was just anywhere
outside.
You could find me. I was outside. And so I'm like, dang, but I haven't really felt inspired. I haven't really written anything new, but I want to put out some new music. I feel like people might be getting antsy, and it probably was just me being antsy. But so I went into it like, I'm gonna take these verses that I did with all of these people and just put it over different music and just put it out. But in that, I don't think I did that once on that project, because it's like I started writing. I'm like, well, what I'll do, I'll take like a more free write approach to writing these songs, where it's no like real structure. It's not gonna be like 4/8 4, you know, 6, 12, 6, 8 or whatever. Exactly. I'm gonna just write and I'm gonna record it, and when I'm finished, and that's just gonna be the project. And it, some of them started to kind of feel like a full song. Some of them were just like a couple of lines,
interludes.
And so that's how Versus came about.
I love the cover too, because I think that's your friend's apartment wall. And you know, I think he was like your photographer, graphic designer, like, and a bunch of other stuff.
Yes, Rich Rocket. Shout out to Rich Rocket. He is everything. He is a graphic designer. He is a photographer. He is a clothing designer. Vintage thrival. So he is all things creativity.
The jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades, yes.
But yeah, and even that project, I think the You Are Ready record was like one of the first records that someone commented on. And, you know, I think that meant something, I think, to you in that moment where you seen like, like, you know, you put a lot of work into these records, you know, especially feeling like you came off a writer's block, and it's like, I got all of this new creative like energy now, and I'm able to really put something down to create a great project in your eyes. And I think you knew that other people were going to see that it was great, but to see that someone commented and to like validated that, I feel like always feels good as an artist, right? You know, and see that your work means something to people. Definitely a great record.
Thank you.
But you know, and I love that you talked about the freedom in your creative process of like not being super structured and not sort of confining yourself to a, you know, a standard 8, 4, 8, 6, 12, you know, but like just getting the idea down, right? And like making sure that that's coming across, and however the song lands is how it's going to land. When it feels right, it's right. You know, and we continue a bit to 2019. I think, you know, pandemic hits, and you know, you begin to like sort of lock in, and like I think ultimately it leads you into like Skin Tone Brown, right? You know, which is okay. I talk about incredible projects all the time, and all of the ones that I've mentioned, don't skip any of those. Go to all of those projects and listen to all of those projects, because they matter. But you know, we talk about like Skin Tone Brown, and we're in this age now where it's like you have the influences of like, man, like so many things that are happening in America. Like, I think you at that time you didn't have a political voice, so to speak. I know you mentally you have a political voice and personally you have one, but in the music it didn't necessarily get like sort of conveyed yet to the audience. It's like you see things like Breonna Taylor. I think man. I think George Floyd. It's like such a transformative moment. I'm just thinking it back, and it's taking me back a bit because that was such a transformative time for not just for Black America, but America in general, right? And that really spilled over into your artistic process, and even just the term, not the term, but the name, Skin Tone Brown, was like an ode to like. I'll let you talk because I could talk about that a lot because that really impacted me around that same time too. But tell us about sort of the going into that project and the things that were really on your mind when you were speaking.
So, in my music, I don't really touch on like the climate of politics.
Sure.
Or really current events or anything. So I guess that was kind of my way. That was me paying homage or paying my respects to like the Black Lives Matter movement and like all that was going on at that time, and kind of in my own way.
Yeah.
Kind of in my own way, and then of course like the pandemic was going on and happened at that time, and so there was another moment where I wasn't like making a lot of my music, like some of the stuff you was playing when I first walked in. My homie Kojo,
big shout out Kojo too.
He's a machine. So I was doing a lot of stuff with him during like that 2019, 2020 time. But then like when the world shut all the way down and everybody's in the house, I'm like, all right, let me set my stuff up.
Let me lock in.
Let me blow the dust off.
Yeah.
And so I ended up recording the whole project myself.
Yeah.
I was so focused during that time that my laptop, I left it downstairs. I'm not using my laptop for anything other than recording.
Yeah.
So I left it downstairs. I'm upstairs, there's no TV in my room, so I usually use my laptop for everything.
Yeah.
So I'm off the tablet. All right, I'm just gonna watch off this little screen. Anything I need to see, I'm gonna just watch off this little screen.
We're good.
But yeah, so I just left everything down there. With some nights where I slept in the basement. I'm Friday night, I'm recording.
Yeah.
Till I knock out, wake up the next morning, 6:30, 7 o'clock, right back at it, writing and recording. I would go live, and that would kind of be like my in-studio energy, like if I'm working something out. What y'all think it is? Whatever.
Yeah.
And so that is how that project came about. Now, I say around midnight was the time when I knew, okay, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But Skin Tone Brown was the music that I always wanted to make.
Yeah.
It was the music that this is the sound that I've been looking for. Because a lot of times, producers, I don't know, I don't want to generalize, but there's way more rappers than there are singers.
Sure.
So a lot of times when producers are making beats, they have rappers in mind, and then when they see an artist like me, they just find something that they think can fit, and they'll send me a pack of 15 beats, and it's all hard hitting hip hop stuff. And so it's I could do that.
Sure. Yeah.
And I did for a while. It's okay, I can make this work. I can sing over this.
Yeah.
But Skin Tone Brown was
this is where I want to be.
This is it. The brunch.
Yeah.
One Little Piece, all of that stuff was this is the sound. This is what I always wanted. I just didn't have the right pieces of the puzzle weren't all together for me to do this and for me to sound the way that I wanted to sound. So it was just so perfect.
Yeah.
It was so perfect to me.
No, for sure. So it was one thing I wanted to also talk about, which we kind of did skip over. In 2019, what was it? 2019? I think that's the right time frame. You had opened up for Babyface at the Live Casino.
I did do that.
I think it was like November 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And man, did Daydreaming by Aretha Franklin and Green Eyes by Erykah Badu. I could pick no better songs for you. I know you smoked that. I wish I would have been there. But you know, we just mentioned Kojo. Shout out to Kojo because I think his fiance was the director of entertainment.
So his homeboy, one of his friends, that he met like through music from Jersey.
Okay.
So, his name escapes me, but it was his then fiance, now wife.
Okay,
yep.
Yeah. So moving forward, of course, at the time fiance, sorry, and his wife now was the director of entertainment, and I think like you were doing like some residencies like around in a couple of the restaurants and like the businesses around a Live Casino, and that was like perfect for you because you got the call one day and it was like, do you want to open up for Babyface? And you were like, yeah, I'm not doing anything else but opening up for Babyface right now. Don't ask me to go to work. Don't ask me to like whatever it took for you in your mind. You were like, I'm going to be there, and there's that dedication, there's that work ethic again, you know. And I loved seeing that of like, yeah, I'm going to be there in that moment. I'm going to smoke that performance. And you said you didn't really don't really like rehearsing very much. But I think at that moment you were like, we're getting this down.
Yes.
We're getting this tight.
Right.
We're going to smoke this.
Because I'm like, I don't want to run overtime. Yeah. I don't want them to have to cut anything. I don't want, nothing to go wrong. Yeah. And of course it was a great opportunity. Yeah. Great opportunity. Some things, small things, didn't go all the way right, or how I would, if I could go back, I would do a few things differently. But I mean, it's not every day.
Sure.
Not every day, and not everybody that can say, yeah, I'll open for Babyface.
I know nobody but you.
It was so crazy. Like, I'm like, so this is how people do it. They just email you and be like, hey,
right,
on such and such date. And I'm like, like, is this saying what I think is
spam?
You mean the you mean the Babyface, the Kenneth? So that was lovely.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That was lovely.
So I kind of so I went back. I got to go back now. We're skin tone brown. So like even the cover art, like the brown color pencils, like with the different shades. I think like that had a meaning too. Like you're speaking from a brown point of view, and I love your intentionality behind a lot of like the visual aspects, because there also are visual looks to a lot of these things we've been discussing. But like also the cover art is intentional. The lyrics are intentional. The beat selection is intentional. If you want to call them beats, you can call them vibes, you can call them feels. But like, there's a lot of intentionality behind what you do as an artist, and I just think that is such a gem. I think that is such an incredible thing to see, because you cannot believe how many people I have discussed things with, interviewed, gone to the show to do a backstage, BTS, whatever, and there's like zero intentionality. It's just like, oh, no, we just woke up and this is what it was, and I recorded it. We happened to. I mean, I understand that has a place, sure. Like a lot of times, you just got this joint in your head, you gotta put it out. But to work on something and cultivate a seed, it's a difficult thing to do. So I take my hat off to you, because not many people are doing that at that level. You know what I'm saying? So we keep going. You actually mentioned one little piece too. I think you had that beat for like 4 years, right?
Yes, I had. Was it 4? It was a long time, a long periodically time. It was a long time, and that was the first. I think that was the first song that I wrote. That was the first song that I wrote, like 2020. That was the first one that I recorded. I think I had like the first line forever. And then I was like, that's when I locked in. I'm going to finish this. And then one after the other, after the other, after the other. Yeah. But yeah.
No, for sure. Man, what a time, right? What a time. And I had to kind of fit this in too. So like earlier in the interview you had said, like, when you were first getting into like recording music and people were writing things for you, it was like you would articulate, okay, I want this, and then this to happen, and then this to happen, and then this is how I'm going to have the song. And I think you said something in like somewhere previously of like, you know, there's now this process you have, or at least you've had that process up until now of, you know, creating the feel, getting the idea down, but then like retroactively going back and then realizing that there's something else there in the music, and then titling things later, you know, and then finding new moments in there later that really can enforce, you know, a lot of the things you want to push in the song. And I think what a dichotomy, right? Like in the beginning, you were like designating what you wanted out of a song, and then it was a thing. But now you're like doing the thing. You're feeling the music. You're feeling the sort of the entire environment of it, and then you're finding the beauty inside of that after the moment is done. Yeah, and I think that's like. It's just so funny backwards. How that works. I mean, I think it's a beautiful process, honestly, because it really shows you that there are so many things in your mind. Like, you have this subconscious mind, you know, working into where you're singing, and now you're pulling these experiences out of, like, oh, damn, I really did feel that. You know, like, I love that. I love that.
And when you put it like that, it's kind of like a out-of-body type experience for real. And I feel like when I say people are like, some of my friends are like machines when it comes to like writing like anything.
Yeah.
Give them like 15, 20 minutes, boom, just bang it out.
Yeah.
Me, I'm a little, when it comes to my personal music,
sure,
it takes me a little bit longer. But if you say, Davonne, I got this beat and I want it to be like a party record.
Yeah.
And you send me like a couple lines. All right, I got you.
Yeah.
Now we're in the same place.
Yeah, the wheels are turning now.
But for me and my personal music, it's like I let the music pull, like extract the feelings, and then or like extract the story. If I say like one little thing, and then I'm like, okay, I can build on this. It was there's a poet. Where is she from? Is she from the Baltimore area or DC? I've seen her both. But her name is Rebecca Dupas.
Not familiar with her. Now I gotta do my research.
Yeah, no, she's dope. Like, I heard her one time say, like, when I think she taught like a writing class or something like that. And she was like, one thing I always tell my students is start with what you know, and then you can go from there. Like, if you start with something that you're super familiar with, if you are a creative writer, if you are a poet, if you are a singer or a rapper, whatever, you should be able to build on that. So like whenever I'm like stuck or I don't know where to start, I'm like, okay, let me start with what I know. Let me start with something that I feel deeply. So when I heard, and if I don't have anything right away, I'll let the beat sit in my email, sit on my computer, and that's what happened with one little piece. I remember I was driving, I was dropping my mom off at the airport, and I rode by, put it on. I'm like, let me listen to this again. Let me see. And then in the car, it's like stuff, I don't know, stuff just comes to me better in the car.
Oh, man.
And so I got like that first line, I hope I still know how to love when you're done with me. Like, it's like, because people be playing. People be playing, and it's like, I felt like I said, when I write, I kind of try to be a little bit witty, a little and relatable. And it's like, people would say that in a different way. Other writers or whatever, but it's like, I hope I still have enough left.
Yeah, that's a bar.
So I'm like, this is legit how I feel. This is legit how I feel, and I'm gonna say it. I hope I still know how to love when you're done with me. I hope I still have enough. I gave you everything. Like, I'm about to be empty out here. And who gonna want me?
Talk that talk, man.
And then the rest is just me just build on that.
I think that's dope. That was a bunch of gems in there. I won't go over them again. If you needed to hear them, go back in the video. Rewind the video. But there were so many in there, and I appreciate that, especially even that gem from what is her name again? I can't
Rebecca
remember.
Dupas.
Rebecca Dupas, because I need to tap in with her too. She sounds dope. We keep going, and we're kind of coming to like the conclusion of our interview. But we keep going until we got to the next project was After Let Out, which I think I discussed. I talked a bit about that when we were at the festival. Incredible project.
Thank you.
Incredible project. I mean, all of these are, so I'll even say it again. Incredible project. Tell us the process in getting to there, and, sort of leaving, like, I guess we always try to evolve, right? Like, we always try to make newer and better things and more polished versions. How do you compartmentalize the work you've done in the past while still being authentic, but making sort of this newer sounding project After the Let Out? How did that happen for you?
So, how did this happen? So, during that time, I reconnected with one of my friends. He used to jump in and play bass for me from time to time, and then life happened, and there went some time between. And then we reconnected, and I would go up to the studio, and we would just like vibe. And that was the first time where I had I always wanted a musician that was a producer.
Yeah.
So I could just go in with an idea, and we can just start from scratch.
Yeah.
And that's what we did for the majority of that project. He produced probably 90% of that project. And 90% of it was me at the studio, just I had an idea, and it kind of go like this. And I would sing it, and he would play and vibe and try to find out the sequence, and then he put the beat together.
Yeah.
And that's how we did the majority of it. Some of the stuff
Sounds
he already had, but outside of that, we made it from scratch. And that was the first time I felt like I got to pick what the snare sounded like here, or again, I'm super churchy, so I love the sound of organ, so you're going to hear that in there. And I'm like, ooh, you know what would be tight? An organ in the beginning. And he was like, yo.
All right.
I don't know what it is. Church musicians, they be really wanting to live a separate life outside of the church sound. But I'm like, please just do it.
It feels good.
It felt so good. And so that was the first time I really got to be a part of the creative process, all from start to finish. So I think that is how kind of the evolution of my artistry, from making it work to being comfortable in what I'm doing, to having closer to the sound that I was been really getting at, to being able to help create it from scratch. That was After the Let Out. And so I had the beginning go-go joint. I'm I want to, since I'm going to call it After the Let Out, I'm I got to do something hype in the beginning. So it's we at the club. And then eventually it's now we in the car.
Right. This is the transition after the club is over. After the Let Out. Man.
So it's so now, after everybody is in their car and exchange whatever they needed to exchange, figure out where you're going, and then you just ride out and vibe out for the rest of the night until you reach your destination.
100%. That's how it is. I mean, in that that intentionality again.
I be trying to put it together.
Intentionality,
I don't ever know if people really get it, but I be trying to put because I gotta make it make sense to me. And then
that's the best music.
If y'all
I
get
think
it,
your
y'all
music
get
is
it.
incredible. So no, it definitely comes across to me for sure.
Wonderful.
And that continues to stained glass interludes, right? And so, like I said, we're kind of coming to the decrescendo now, right? So so give us some insight on to, first of all, calling it the stained glass interludes. I'm not gonna step on your toes here. We're gonna allow you to completely tell your intentionality, because I feel like I've been telling the story the entire time. There's so much talking time for me. But talk us through that. It's 2023 now, and And then we get to, to be determined. But, tell us about there and what sort of led to the culmination of that project in 2023.
So I always wanted to do, like, ever since I didn't completely do what I said I was going to do on Versus,
Sure.
I always wanted to do, like, something, like, just quick ideas,
Yeah.
like, just get it out. That one was fully produced by Doug, the one who did the majority of After the Let Out. And at the time, I had introduced him to Kojo. And so he sent him a whole pack of beats.
Yeah.
And so we were working on our projects kind of in tandem at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm going to, and this wasn't the first time we did that. Planned like a joint release.
Yeah.
And so I think this was the second time. And I was like, I'm going to call my project Stained Glass. And he was like, oh, all right, bet. I'm gonna call mine Broken Glass.
Yeah.
But speaking of intentionality, if you have time to go back and listen to his Broken Glass project, he actually mentions broken glass in every song. And it's in just it's such a creative way.
Yeah.
That he kind of worked it in. Mine wasn't that deep. My metaphor for stained glass. Well, I had a song called Stained Glass many moons ago.
Many moons.
But I feel like it was, you know how you look through a stained glass. Most things you can see is probably like a silhouette, like just shadows moving.
Yeah.
And so it was like each theme of each song was kind of just like a glimpse of each emotion.
Sure, yeah.
Just like a pocket of each thing. So it's like that's kind of was my metaphor for stained glass.
Yeah, that's, man. Told you that intentionality is there. I don't even know how many flowers I can give you. I've given you all the flowers. I've given you all the flowers. But, I mean, that all of these things matter, right? And especially when we lead to 2024 and we talk about To Be Determined, right? Like your most recent project. How has the response from this project been able to give you some insight on what the next endeavor for Davonne Danielle is going to be?
Fun fact about that project, and it was a joint project with me, Black Assets, and Tyler Moonlight. Two very incredible, very talented
Fire.
individuals.
Yeah.
We actually started that and probably finished it in 19? Had to be 2020.
Okay.
Because I remember it started what inspired it was the verses between who was it? The Isley Brothers and
who was that? Versus? It was the Isley Brothers and who was that?
Because Steve Harvey hosted that.
Yep.
And I just was so inspired.
Yeah.
I was so inspired after watching that.
Such a great performance.
Because it was like, this is timeless music. Timeless music that still hits, music that still resonate with everybody. And the Versus audience was so widespread. They had artists from younger artists all the way up to the Isley Brothers, stuff that our parents used to rock to.
For sure.
So I was just so inspired, and I remember posting on my story on Instagram, and I tagged a bunch of soul artists, y'all, we still got it. It's still it's not dead. Shout out to us for keeping this feel and vibe alive. And so I don't know how we ended up in a group text, me, Black, and Cam. And we was like, let's do something. And
Why not?
it was started out as a secret We wanted to do like a surprise, like y'all wasn't looking, y'all wasn't expecting this.
Yeah.
Like, but we're all friends. We all perform at the same venues, a bunch of shows together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it would only make sense. It would be hard if we do a project.
And
Cam is like a genius. And so this was like something even like a step further, like as far as like the from scratch process.
Yeah.
So we would just get up once a week, just talk for a little bit. Like, how y'all feeling? Like, what's up? Like, y'all write anything this week? Like, y'all got any ideas or whatever? Somebody would just start singing. And Cam would have his laptop and his keyboard, and he would start playing. And then before you know it, he had like the structure and the sequence down. And then we like, all right, you got, you ready? And then it was just like that.
Yeah.
It was just like it was just crazy.
Yeah.
And like, I never been in a room with 3 singers and like, we just made music.
Yeah. That's
like,
dope.
made music and just good music.
Yeah.
And
absolute good music, by the way.
it was just so crazy. And I had never, like I said, I never really collabed with singers like that. Like, not to that degree. So it was like, it was so nice to see all of our different styles and like writing styles and different voices. Like, Black is like super soulful, strong voice. Cam can falsetto you. He can run. He could play the instruments and everything. Like, it was just crazy. And like, we just knocked it out like a couple weeks in a row. And we hit a wall. Like, what we gonna call it? When we gonna put it out? When can everything be done? Like, so then I don't know. I don't think we handled it all the way properly with releasing it. It was just like, we were just like, yeah, let's just put it out.
Yeah.
I'm like, we don't even need to put a picture. Let's just put our name on there.
Yeah.
And so that's how it ended up being called To Be Determined.
To Be Determined, yeah.
Because it's like, well, we don't even know what we're going to call it. We couldn't decide. We couldn't all agree. I'm like, it don't even matter that much to me. Let's just put it out. Like,
so many musical minds. It's going to be difficult to come to a consensus on a lot of things.
I'm like, come on. So we put it out. It was just so nice to collab in that way.
Yeah.
So nice to collab in that way because it was a new experience for me. I think for them as well, like just 2 different singers, R&B soul singers, with 3 different vibes, but it just meshed together so well. It was just a really good experience. So next, I don't know what my next project will sound like. I don't know like what direction I would want to go in, but I feel like I've done enough along the way to make sure that whatever happens next is going to be like, oh yeah, this sound like her.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to sound like me, but like more mature. I want to sound, I want to evolve each time.
Sure,
I want to sound like I got better each time. I want to feel like I got more to say. I want to feel like I got more to talk about. And I think sometimes that is the lapse in when I release music. Like, I gotta go experience, watch people, go places, do things, like, so I can have something to pull from. Like, I don't want to keep telling the same story.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep crying.
It's gonna be a banger if you're crying.
And sometimes if I'm too sad, like, I'm like, if I feel like I'm writing another crying song, I like flip it. Like, okay, this is the emotion. I'm gonna say the exact opposite. If I say I blank blank blank, I'm gonna say you bloom bloom bloom. Like, I just flip it to try to just change like the feeling, the overall feeling of an emotion.
Yeah, man. Man, I appreciate your time so much. You've been
Thank
so
you.
generous with your time.
Oh.
Like, man. Like,
You have been generous with your time.
man, it's we sat here, we gone through a lot of things. There was some things I left out, but I want the audience to give that, that time for themselves. I want them to actually look into your work. I want them to find these moments that we've discussed in your music, because they're like small gems buried, but like they're there. Trust me, they're there. As soon as you hear them, you'll understand.
Yes.
And I'm just so thankful for you to sit in front of me, and what I'm saying, you heard it first, man. Davonne is in the building, man. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Like I said,
you.
I really admire your research.
Thank you.
Like, people don't be looking stuff up. Like, there's so many resources, and if you say you want to do this, a lot of people just, I want to do a podcast because they like Joe Budden. They want to do a podcast because they like, Drink Champs, but they don't know like the work that goes into it. So shout out to you for doing the work.
Man, shout out to you for doing the work. Work ethic. Work ethic. Man, I'm telling you, I've not seen very many people who has worked hard as you. I have not seen very many people who have the musical IQ you do and the background and the foundation of performance that you have. Man, you are literally smoking this out here. You're setting the bar high for all of these new artists, which I'm so glad that you're doing, because keep them accountable, make them better.
Yes.
And man, I just can't wait to see what else you have coming. And I know once you live those experiences, once you get inspired to pull from something that you're like, this is the moment. I know it's gonna be incredible, because so many times in the past that you have had that moment where you pulled something out of it. It was incredible. So, I've only high expectations for what you're going to do in the next year, next 2 years, next 5 years, next 10 years. I know it's going to be insane. And when we look back, it's going to be a journey and a time. And man, tip my hat to you. And I know you're just getting started. I know this is just the beginning for Davonne. And for everybody who has not tapped in yet, don't go from the video, because we got a little bit more to tell you. But at the end, go and tap in, go subscribe, go follow her, go find all of these projects that we discussed. If you don't remember the names, go back in the interview. Write them down. Come back to this moment and get back into those projects. Man, I cannot wait to see everything that you got in store. Because us here at Vibe Studios and Ground 3, we will be supporting you. We'll be there every step of the way.
Yes,
and finally, I'll leave you with a short Sacred Baltimore proverb. And this is what I got to say at the end of every interview, and that is, keep doing what you're doing.
I plan on it.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. Once again, it's your boy Mike on the mic from the Vibe Perspective Podcast, tapped on my guys at Ground 3 Radio. DJ OK, make sure you call in at 443-377-1872. Again, that number is 443-377-1872. Leave a message about Davonne, one of your favorite songs of hers, one of your favorite projects of hers, one of your favorite performances of hers. Anything is on the table. Let's do it, man. Next interview is coming up soon. Keep it locked from Vibe Studios and Ground 3. Let's keep the vibe alive, man. Peace. We out here. See you next time.
We did it.
We did it.
Hey y'all, it's Davonne. We at Ground 3 Radio, and we rocking with Mike on the mic.